In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, peace be upon you. Apologies, I speak slowly. To speed up this video, click on settings, bottom right of the screen, then click on speed and select a suitable speed. Who is the Antichrist? Sorry to disappoint, but I've come to the conclusion that there is no Antichrist waiting in the wings. There is no mention of such an individual in the Qur'an. The Qur'an mentions the Gog and Magog and the beast of the earth as coming before the Day of Judgment. However, there is no Antichrist mention. I do believe there are anti-Christian people who follow the Gog and Magog, but the Antichrist is dead before he is risen. I cannot believe hadith when there is no mention of such an individual in the Qur'an. And as you can see at the bottom of the screen, I've got different pictures of different potential antichrists, and to be honest with you, it's become a sort of joke really, because everybody comes up with a new antichrist every now and again. And the pictures on this screen demonstrate the point further. While Obama was the president, there were so many demonic pictures of him portrayed as the Antichrist, and now he doesn't get a look in. But in fact, I do feel that the leadership in America are quite evil. Similarly, Britain, very evil people in power in these countries, and also Israel. Anyway, let's talk about the Gog and Magog in the Qur'an. It gets quite a brief mention because the Prophet Zulkarnain, he builds a wall to protect a community from the Gog and Magog, but he prophesizes something. So I'm going to read the verses to explain that. He said, "This is a mercy from my Lord, but when the promise of my Lord is fulfilled, he will level it, and my Lord's promise is true. That day we shall let them surge over one another, and the trumpet will be blown, and we shall gather them all. And that day we shall bring hell into view visibly for the faithless." So, although, so initially there's the leveling of the wall, and then this Gog and Magog will surge upon each other, and although it suggests quite that the trumpet will be blown quite quickly after the surge of the Gog and Magog, I do believe that even 1,000 years is a very small fraction of time in God's terms. So that's why it's written in that manner. And we shall gather them all, and that day we shall bring hell into view visibly for the faithless. So everybody, and then we've got Judgment Day happening. So after the trumpet's blown, then Judgment Day follows. So that's the summary of the Gog and Magog in the Qur'an. basically that there were warring people. A prophet built a wall protecting a community, but he said that when my Lord's promise is fulfilled about the approaching day of judgment, then this wall will crumble and the Gog and Magog will spread throughout the world. Okay, now I'm going to talk briefly about the beast of the earth. Nor can you lead the blind out of their error. You can make only those hear who believe in our signs and who have submitted. And when the word of judgment falls upon them, we shall bring out for them an animal from the earth who shall speak to them, and that the people had no faith in our signs. The day we shall resurrect from every nation a group of those who denied our signs, and they shall be held in check. So it introduces the fact that neither the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, nor me, nor anyone who is a believer can lead the blind. Okay, they have to will it themselves. We can only make those people hear who believe in God's signs. And when the word of judgment falls upon them, so Allah has spoken events and the timing for those events. And so when that timing for that event comes into existence, Allah will create an animal or beast from the earth who shall speak to the people, for they had no faith. So, in 2000 I had a bit of a surreal experience, and number one, I believed that the Antichrist was in existence, and number two, I believed that the beast of the earth was the computer and television network throughout the world. So at that time I believed the beast to be a bad thing, but now when I calmly look at the verses, it's not a bad thing. It's a sign of God, and following on from this sign, people will be gathered. They will be resurrected. As you can see in verse 83. So these resurrected people will be put in line, and judgment will be passed against them. So, as I said, although these events seem to happen one after the other in God's terms, in human terms they can take hundreds of years. Now, I do wonder, after seeing Sophia the robot and listening to people comment on the singularity, that perhaps this is the beast of the earth, because computers and networks, robots, they're all created from earthly materials. And during, over 1,000 years ago, people did not imagine that parts and metals that they could take from the earth and oil that they could take from the earth could create such a creature. And people take credit for God's work. Oh, we've done this and we've created computers and we've created robots. No, you haven't. Without the intelligence that God has given you, you're incapable of anything. Now, I suggest Satanists give up their quest to bring the devil to earth, because I don't believe it's going to happen. I think this is as bad as it will get, with the Gog and Magog committing genocide against the Native Americans, the Aborigines of Australia, causing starvation in developing countries including India and Africa, encouraging drug and alcohol addiction, bombing the Middle East, Vietnam, etc., polluting the earth, poisoning the waters, destroying crops, cattle, animals, developing and using weapons of mass destruction, promoting pornography, promiscuity, child trafficking, killing babies in the womb, and putting their body parts in food, drinks, chocolates, medicines, etc., promoting paedophilia, black magic, transgender homosexuality, enslavement of the peasants, stealing wealth and resources from those without weapons, false flag attacks perpetrated by Israeli Secret Intelligence Service, who are also Gog and Magog, Al-Qaeda, also Gog and Magog, etc. This is as bad as it's going to get. What is the devil or Antichrist going to do that's any worse than what's going on already? In my opinion, all these things probably would be a challenge to the devil. And I actually think the devil may even shy away from them. The way I perceive the devil is this, that he encourages man to do terrible things. Some men, you see, they incite other people to violence or to rape a woman, but they are very clever because they don't take part in the actual criminal act themselves, because they have no desire to suffer imprisonment. They're quite happy to watch the circus and watch you suffer the consequences of your bad deeds, but they don't want to be suffering any consequences. They just want to stand and watch on the sidelines. So I'd like to make a prayer as usual. I pray Allah guides us, protects us, and gives us peace and forgiveness. I pray that Allah guides the Gog and Magog, Satanists, no Antichrist, so at least the anti-Christian people and the devil to the straight path. May the ultimate success be that all creation unite for truth and justice, and may humans be humble enough to recognize they are not wiser than Allah. And I pray that Allah makes the children be a source of peace for the parents, and the parents be a source of peace for the children. And I pray that Allah makes me a source of peace for all. And may I achieve martyrdom by defending the vulnerable. Allahu Akbar and Allah Hafiz.